Very different to you all right here. This is 97 FM. Xtreme Sport is the name of the show. Pass the name, and I will tell you another big weekend to talk about some plenty of exciting sport. We had the Champions League in midweek. We are trying to eliminate half the teams that are in there. Liverpool, rough one they had, but they came back with the win. We shall be going through all those games. Arsenal record-breaking scores. Checking, of course, with what's happening all across the rest of Europe. Back home, of course, for those sides that did have a little bit of, I can't call it a breather, really. It's back, of course, to those exactions of the league. Well, plenty of interesting games in there. Not least Liverpool themselves, of course, will be getting one hand on the title in there. Arsenal, it's a hope and wait game. They are away to Manchester United. This used to be a game that would stop the whole of world football. Or if you had a slight leaning towards English football, doesn't quite feel the same anymore. But we'll be talking about all that, plus of course checking what's happening, like I said, across the rest of Europe with all those leagues in Italy, and checking what's happening in Spain. Why it's a very tight one, I should say, with a very important fixture on the cards there to talk about. Plus, of course, checking with things elsewhere in basketball, where we have some controversies about maybe how, I wouldn't want to point at myself, but larger the media and how they cover some of these sports. But of course, in what's happening in local basketball is we've had a postponement for as far as the start of the new league season is concerned. But hey, what does that all mean? We'll be breaking that all down. You can be a part of the show by tweeting us at 97FM Radio City. Alternatively, you can give us a call later on 0703979797 or 0786979797. That's, of course, after we have heard from the lads in studio.
Yes, Pius. How are you? And happy Women's Day. I don't know if that's still a thing. Yes, it is, man. It is celebrations galore. I believe, I don't know when Men's Day is, but to the ladies out there that listen to this particular show, happy Women's Day to you. And it's that kind of week, like you said, Arsenal record-breaking scoreline. They really battered PSV. 7-1 that ended, and that is the biggest away win in the Champions League knockout stages ever in the history of the competition. So they are setting the records once in a while. I don't know where that is from. As we were predicting that game during the week, I got it wrong. I didn't think Arsenal was going to do the things they did. Later on in the show, I will explain why without an apology.
Have anything to do with the quality of the Dutch Football League?
Not the quality of the Dutch Football League. I think, number one, I didn't do enough research about PSV heading into this game. I was clouded by what they had done in the Champions League. Remember, PSV beat Liverpool in the group stages. And in that round, the playoff round between the group stages and now, they knocked out Juventus. So I think leading into this Arsenal-PSV game, I let those two results, the Juventus and the Liverpool result, cloud my judgment of the game before it happened. After they were battered 7-1, I went and did more research about PSV. I was like, if they're that good to knock out Juventus, if they're good enough to beat even a second-string Liverpool team, they shouldn't be losing 7-1 to Arsenal. And like I said, I will share with you my findings later on in the show and why they actually should have been beaten 7-1. But of course, for teams like Arsenal, it's fast and furious. The games come right at you. I know for a fact that Man U fans, the people that support Manchester United, many of them, I know quite a number that stopped watching their games. As a matter of fact, Man U. And I think on the TL they call it hate watching. more Arsenal fans are watching Man U games because Man U fans abandoned their club. Tomorrow the two meet, so whether they like it or not, Man United fans will have to watch their team go against this Arsenal club that just thumped someone 7-1. I think that's irrespective of us having number 3 versus number 4, Nottingham Forest and Man City. I think the number 2 versus over 17, over 16 in Arsenal, Man United is still the big one on the cards. But Pius, a word about this whole Paqueta thing. I feel I don't think I've seen anything like this in football, and it's just, of course, this week there was new information from the FA, and it's basically just it looks like he's in very big trouble.
Yeah.
Now, for those that don't know, Lucas Paqueta is a player at West Ham Football Club. And the FA announced that they are going to have the hearing of his alleged breach of betting rules this month. Now, Paqueta is being accused of deliberately receiving 4 yellow cards, and that is to basically influence the betting markets. One of them apparently was even a gift to his brother in Brazil. He told him, today you can place bets, I'll get a red card. It was the brother's birthday, and of course he got a yellow card, not red, and stuff like that. And the scandal has become so big that in Brazil some members of parliament are even facing possible jail terms. And the biggest twist now is the FA is demanding for a lifetime ban. They basically don't want Paqueta to ever kick a ball again. And this hearing is happening in the next they say it will take about 3 weeks. It starts immediately, and I don't think I've ever seen a case where the Football Association, even before they enter the room, basically let you know that we want you to never ever play football again. We want a lifetime ban. Now, Paqueta is 27. Even though you gave him a 5-year ban, his career would literally be over. I actually feel like I don't know whether if the FA give him a lifetime ban, it means he can't play like
elsewhere, because that would be bumped up to FIFA level.
Yeah, of course. I think it would need approval from FIFA for him not to play anywhere. But it's just ridiculous for the Football Association to say we don't want this guy to ever kick a ball again. And some of the things are just weird. I understand the guy he deliberately, allegedly, got 4 yellow cards, and people made a lot of money on that. It's alleged that he had shared prior information that I will get yellow cards, so place bets. But we've seen worse things in football. Now I'm not defending this whole match fixing and everything. But the same FA that is demanding that Lucas Paqueta never plays a game in his life, this week there is I don't know how far you go with the lower divisions of English football, but Mansfield, which is a club in England, during midweek, they had a player, one of their players played the game without any intervention from the FA, and the day before the game, he had pleaded guilty to killing someone.
Wow.
This is at Mansfield Football Club in England. He had pleaded guilty to basically causing someone's death. So if you ban someone for life for yellow cards, and you are now you allow another person to play who has pleaded guilty to killing someone, it's I just don't get it.
It doesn't quite track. But we'll be hearing about bans later on in the show. But you brought my attention to the whole betting thing. Of course, we are waiting. Next season is when betting sponsors are being thrown out of England, is it?
Yeah, I believe it's next season, and of course many teams will suffer. The betting community contributes a lot to sport. We've seen cases where I think it was at Newcastle, was it Joey, who had an alleged betting thing, and their shirt sponsor was a betting company, and the player got into trouble for placing a bet. But I don't think it's In Uganda, the total opposite is happening. I think we are seeing betting companies get more involved in sports sponsorship. I think there was one with basketball some time back, and as a result, we are seeing Ugandan games appear more and more on betting websites.
We had a scandal, remember?
Yeah, and insiders. I was talking to someone the other day who told me, I'm not really saying anything, but if you're to place a bet, man, I think you should follow the patterns of Wakiso Giants. they are making people money and stuff like, not by winning, but by not winning. So, of course, the involvement of betting companies in sport always raises questions, but they pump in money. Now, in an economy like England, they can afford to get rid of them because everyone will be jumping at the teams, the soft drinks companies and stuff like that. But in an economy like Uganda, man, we need them. We need them.
This is actually a weird one. I remember the Terry Rozier. I don't know that you've heard of Terry Rozier.
No, he's Terry Rozier?
He's a basketballer. He would pass for a rapper. If you saw him, he has tattoos from head to toe and bling in the teeth sometimes. I don't know if he still has that. But Terry Rozier, I think, is under investigation by the FBI for match fixing still, sort of that thing, point shaving, sort of, because in basketball, basically, theirs is what they call the spread. You say both teams will have a combined total of maybe 56 points and stuff like that, or less. So he's accused of those things. So it emerged that he was under investigation and all that stuff. So this week, they had the game against the Cavs, the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then there's a video that has gone absolutely viral of him playing in that game. You would think he has never touched a basketball in his life.
Like maybe deliberately not doing something, not performing to the best of his abilities.
It is trash. It's just trash play. And most of people are pointing to maybe the man is under stress because he knows he's being investigated and stuff like that. But now this has become even more pronounced. Actually, Heat fans, Miami Heat, where he plays from, of course, they've gone through their own problems. They've lost their best player. They probably are now tanking so that they can get the best available talent in the next draft. So he's a good person to drive that tank and make them. Well, but when you see him play,
again, it takes me back to I think it was one of the allegations against Joey Barton. At that time, he was at Newcastle, and they were playing Arsenal, and I believe he placed a bet on Arsenal to beat them, and he was a Newcastle player, Joey Barton. Now, I think fortunately or unfortunately for him, he was benched during that game. They brought him on very late, if I remember right, about last 10-15 minutes, with Arsenal leading 1-0. So by the time he got onto the pitch, his Kapapula was on point. And unfortunately for him, in added time, I don't remember which Newcastle player scored an equalizer. And he didn't join the celebrations. Of course, we got to know later that he had placed a bet on this game. But I think there need to be boundaries. You can't place bets on games that you're really involved in, Pius.
Yeah. And just to compound Terry Rozier's, they were leading in the fourth quarter, I believe, before that one started. And they went ahead and lost that game by 5 points to the Cavs. But some more basketball we'll talk about later on in the show. You want to be a part of it, you can just tweet us at 97FM Radio City. Alternatively, you can give us a call on 0786 97 97 97 or 078. Call us up on those lines and tell us what your highs are. I don't know what this is. Excuse me there. All right, so your highs and lows, take those calls, 07039799797 or 07869979797. I'll start with you, Paul Banks, who says, cheers, good people. My high of the week low has to be Arsenal scoring 7 goals in the Champions League that we may not win, and dropping points in the EPL where the chances were more or higher for Arsenal to win. So Arsenal is a killer disease for your mental health, maybe. Calls. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Who are you talking to?
This is Silva.
Yes, Silva.
How are you doing?
We are fantastic. Go Gambot here.
I'm okay.
Any highs and lows?
Qatar losing to Bull and Arsenal thumping PSG 7-1.
Okay.
And tomorrow's game, Arsenal is going to whitewash Manchester United by 4-0. Yeah.
All right.
Then Forest City is going to win.
Okay.
Then Liverpool win. Then Fulham Brighton 1-1.
Okay.
That is it. Great for me, Juma.
All right,
All right,
cheers.
then.
You might be a better predictor than
and
Phil.
Pogba and Robandi John.
Where
All
are
right,
those
then.
people from?
Cheers.
He is able over. Anyway, we'll take some of those calls. Just 03979787 or just 86979797. Tweet us. What your highs and lows have been this past week. I see you, James Shazim Tai, Heka. I'll get to you in a bit. Let's first take some of these calls. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Radio City.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys. How are you?
We are fantastic. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. This is likely from Gayaza.
As usual.
Hey, Kati, about your Arsenal fan. Remember about Arsenal, what you watching? How on earth can you... Guys are coming to the OT. And they are thinking whitewashers. Mwana, ya betuli bubi.
You have to have hope. Wanafuwa nyo nawe.
There is hope. Our guys, they are start to see Mura. Because the Wafunya Wakachere wa PSV. Now they assume they are Liverpool.
Goli PSV gwe bakubye nyingi wa Champions League, goli wa Europa.
Ade era PSV na wasamane Wakachere wanne. Yafunya na vendala. Because the reality check. When you see what PSV has been doing, you could be about you better. Juventus is struggling to win a game in Italy. So,
yes, sir.
So, the fall, we shall come back next weekend in Ataziraba. So,
yes, sir.
You should have the same energy next weekend also.
Yeah, I got lose hope. Just that the guy is West Ghana. The fall is that.
All right.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right.
All right, we'll take some of those calls just on 03979797 or just on 86979797. Yes, I'm saying.
No. I just almost thought about picking his opinion about Amorim's Jazz ahead of this match. Of course, Ruben Amorim coming out and saying in his press conference that Man United can never give him as much time as Arsenal have given Arteta. It's a double-edged sword. Of course, he's talking about when you say that you're trying to insinuate or point out that the other managers not had a lot of success, but they have been given a lot of time. Now, Arteta has been at Arsenal for 5 years. I think they have a FA Cup. I think the one of 21 or something, and nothing else to show for it. So for Amorim to say that before they play Arsenal, for him to say, man, you can never give me the time Arsenal has given Arteta. And I would have loved to pick this Man United fans' mind. But for me, I'm thinking, if Man U gave Arteta, Amorim 5 years, they will get relegated. So maybe it's not a bad thing. If he was there for 5, I'm sure they would go down.
All right.
Radio City, hello.
Yes, Radio City. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon to you.
You're speaking to Azan Musa.
Yes, sir.
Fire.
Thank you.
What's the name of that guy who's by your side? That guy is speaking like he's from UK.
That would be Albert. He's called Albert.
I am the farthest thing from the UK.
I love his voice. Anyway, I'm just trying to keep tabs on tomorrow's game. As that guy has said that nowadays Man U fans are not visiting the video halls. In fact, the way I'm saying that, you just go to check on Man U fans. They're not there. And Man U is shaming people because this season, that's the thing which has matches at home.
You know that thing even me puzzles. When you go to watch Man U fans, a Man U game, you only find Arsenal fans. Man U guys gave up on their team.
They are on full head to watch.
Imagine at home, Man U is very worse at home.
And you know now, Man U fans, because they stopped watching Man U games, they are watching Arsenal games, hoping for Arsenal to lose.
Guys.
The guy has boomed. You boomed. Okay. Cheers to you. Cheers to you.
All right, we'll take some more of those calls. 07039799797 or 07869979797. Lonzo Mike on Twitter says, "Aloha, folks. Did any of you watch that Joker versus Suns game? Dude putting up video game numbers. I understand everyone is saying SJ for MVP, but how do you not mention
21. It's madness.
The Joker in there? PSG doing great until they can't score. Poole getting away with luck. Locked on. Yeah, good discussion to have later on about the MVP race, and you could add in how the refereeing is being done in basketball, and whether SGA deserves it with the things he does on the court.
SGA is on that James Harden business.
Yeah, but Joker should have to thank what's his name again, Kevin Durant, for allowing him to get that monster total with that very late buzzer-beating three to send the game to overtime. More calls, give us a call on 07039799797 or 078699797. James Shazemutai, your high is Liverpool winning away at PSG. Lois analysts saying Liverpool was so poor and didn't deserve a win. A win is a win, even if you win ugly. Cheers.
And they pay the goalkeeper a salary for a reason.
Yeah, I feel, just very briefly on this game, surely after you watch the game, you can't come out and say, a win is a win, but you have to take stock of what happened in the game and say, well, if we play like this again, potentially.
Yeah, and Pius, it's like you said, maybe briefly, I tried to explain this last weekend, and I felt like maybe I struggled a little bit with the language we are mandated to use on this show. If I was speaking Lusoga, I would have explained it better. But what I tried to explain last weekend... No, let me just try again. What I tried to explain was that because I thought Liverpool are 13 points clear in the Premier League without playing at 10 out of 10, because they have just consistently played at 7 out of 10, while everyone else has fluctuated 7, 5, 4... I felt when they get to the Champions League, they will suffer. When you go to like PSG, you need a 10 out of 10 performance if you're to win there. Well, Liverpool went there, and I think they still had a 7 out of 10. They should have been beaten. Liverpool should have been beat without a doubt. And at the end of the day, they won that game.
So not a 10 out of 10 performance, but a 10 out of 10 result.
Yeah, it was a 10 out of 10 result, but I think even a 4 out of 10 performance. The confidence I have, though, is at Anfield. I don't think PSG can play that well, and I don't think Liverpool can play that badly again.
More of those calls.
Hello. Yes, sir.
How are you?
We are fine, thank you, sir. Yes, Juma, I hope you received your greetings.
I thank you gentlemen very much.
I only heard about complaining.
Juma, your phone is very, very bad. Your network is terrible.
It's terrible. Anyway, I wish you the best of the day.
All right, but before you go, now that it's getting better, what do you think is happening at Old Trafford, Man United versus Arsenal? Oh, he's gone?
Yeah, he's gone.
Juma is one of the most realistic Arsenal fans. And, of course, we don't support any form of violence, but he has called on this show many times requesting to cane Alteta Chiwoko. So I think he would be a right person to give us a very unbiased prediction.
Yeah, I don't think he would be giving Alteta that long of a contract calls.
Radio City.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you?
We are fine, thank you. Who is this, though?
This Moses calling in from Namongo here.
Yes, Moses in Namongo. Talk to us.
My moment of the week. Go to that game of Arsenal. winning PSG 7-1. Also, I did not believe that maybe it could happen like that. I was expecting a loss from Arsenal as well.
Yes, as an Arsenal fan, right?
Yes, as an Arsenal fan. Now, betting on tomorrow's game, Man U is losing by 3.
You're going to beat Man U 3-0.
Not less than that.
You man.
It is a must.
I need you to do us a favor.
Yes.
I need you to listen to this show up to the end because
See, I'm always listening to this show.
Me, I will tell you in the next hour why Arsenal cannot beat Man U 3-0. I think 3 is many.
Fine.
3 is many, and I will tell you why.
It's fine.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that, show.
All right, then cheers to you, man.
Cheers, John. All right, more of those. That's not him. Anyway, more of those calls 07039799797 or 07869979797. Highs and lows. Edwin Vibes. Didn't I? Anyway, no. He says, I'm so impressed with how Bull have turned their season around. With a not so good first half of the season. Albert and Peter, as a Blazers fan, I've been too happy for the season after that good transfer window with the latest additions of Obleng and Banza.
Very interesting. Those guys have put together the Galacticals, so we're waiting to see if it translates on the floor.
Yeah.
Fun fact, actually, Obleng was the first signing they made. They just didn't put him on social media because they didn't want to.
Oh, wow.
So he signed long before the tourneys.
Wow. All right, we are going to have, like I promised, a discussion about that. Phil?
Just to digress a bit, and I thought maybe it's something Albert would touch on. Massive congratulations not to you, Albert. I don't know whether we'll ever get a chance to tell Albert congratulations. Because, that's what they have.
Life is short. You never know.
No. Whenever we've thought maybe it's time for us. Whenever we've thought it's time to get the Kanzus, Albert shows us, no, it wasn't. But anyway, I thought you would say. I thought you would say congratulations to Mr. Dennis Musali and maybe Jackson Kavuma as well. We've been previewing during the election that happened last weekend, but we now know there is a new leadership, if new in quotes, really, new leadership at the Cricket Association with Kavuma defeating Fred Lutaya for, for chairmanship. And Mr. Musali also defeating Chibuka Musoke for Secretary General.
Musali already touched what I'm assuming. Just within a week's time,
things change quickly.
All right. Some of those highs and lows. Calls.
Radio City. Hello.
It's me. I want us to know who's going to officiate that match tomorrow.
Who is going to show the match?
I'll check that the referee is going to be on that field.
Okay, we are going to give you those details, but is there any referee you prefer?
I don't want Mike Oliver or Anton Taylor to be officiate that match.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think Oliver himself has had issues, and I don't think he's officiating any game this weekend. However, I'm trying to find out.
Let's first take that call.
Okay.
All right.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We are fine. How are you, sir?
How you feel? My name is Moses.
Yes, Moses.
I normally listen to you guys. It's my first time calling and going through.
Man, you're welcome, and we are glad you've gone through.
Now, I'm an Arsenal fan. And people are underlooking that Man U team. We know it's not doing well. But I'll not say we are doing well as well. Our defense is okay. Our midfield is not bad. But the front side of us is poor, as you can see. So I think if we play well, maybe we shall hit those guys 2-1.
You think you can beat Man U 2-1? If you play very well, but you've been scoring. You've been scoring 7. Why are you cutting them down?
That was a chance. So the chance, so the blessing in these guys. Those guys lost their confidence and, ended up building on that so that we were able to score those 7 goals. But, Premier League, the tension is different.
Yep.
It is way too different. And trust me, Manu, if they have been noticing how we've been performing, if they score a goal like this, they'll make sure they defend. Our scoring is not good at the moment.
Okay, so you think it ends 2-1?
Otherwise, 2-1. That's what I think.
All right, then. Thank you so much.
Otherwise, thanks for the show.
Cheers to you. Cheers.
A modest Arsenal fan. They don't come around soon. Fast enough.
And the Pius, I think I can confirm it's Anthony Taylor that will be the referee in tomorrow's game between Arsenal and Man United. And this season, it was also the referee when Man U lost 3-0 to Liverpool. So I don't know whether they're excited to have him or not.
All right, calls.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
One problem. People just... This is Emmanuel.
Yes, Emmanuel. What's the problem with people?
The problem with the people, they just talk.
They talk.
Let them. But for us, Manu fans who have come, if someone, I told someone to compare with Odegaard and Fernandes, in the age of Fernandes, he failed to compare for me Odegaard and Fernandes. Fernandes is 30 years, and Odegaard is around 25 years. When Odegaard reaches Fernandes' age, he cannot even play like how Fernandes is playing. Fernandes is carrying Manu like an egg. So thank you.
First wait, you man. Don't run away after saying such things. Then you just say thank you and you go away. So what is your point? That Fernandes is better than Odegaard? Is that your point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. If
even in the country.
Even on an international stage?
Yes.
Let me ask, so if, for example,
yes,
Madrid wanted to sign one of them, you think they would go for Fernandes and leave Odegaard?
Very well, because we have Kamavinga at the other side, the lefty, so they need someone who is having
now
right.
You're being very technical. Let me change the question for you, because now you've gone to Kamavinga, you've gone... If Fernandes went to Arsenal, would they bench Odegaard for Fernandes?
Actually, yes. If I was a coach in Arsenal, I would bench.
Okay, thank you so much.
Even you see, Peter, when this Nwaneri was on form, I better first even to play this Odegaard. But if it was a good coach, like it is like when Ferguson refused Pogba for post-calls, that is what happened to Arsenal. They were to give Nwaneri to play those days when Odegaard was off form. They were losing points. Okay. They were playing Nwaneri better than Odegaard.
Okay. Finally, how does the game end tomorrow? Man U versus Arsenal. Prediction?
The game tomorrow, the first team that scores, that one is going to win. If Man U scores Arsenal goal, Arsenal cannot pay back.
Okay. Thank you so much. This man is a politician.
Perfect.
The guy, what kind of... But anyway.
Do you have like one last call?
No problem.
All right. Maybe at night.
Hello.
Hello, Radio City.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
We are fine, you guy.
I think that previous caller is just technical and tactical.
Yes, sir.
You have to go there.
Because it does not give direct answers. It is around the bush.
But you got his allegation that Bruno is better than Odegaard. At least that one we understood it.
Yeah, because the others were former players. But then this one of Odegaard and Fernandes, I think he's choosing Fernandez because of experience and what have you.
What do you mean experience? What experience does Fernandez have that Odegaard
Fernandez
doesn't?
mukuluko.
Odegaard yatandika kusamba nga ine miaka 15.
I personally think Odegaard has gone through some footballing doors that Fernandez might never
Might
go
not
through.
have gone through.
Yes.
I can buy your idea, but anyway, abaseno balekerawo okwogera ennyo bannange.
Mpozi gwoli waki?
Nze ndi wa Chelsea.
Gwe tobiriimu naye naawe nga toli bulungi nnyo.
Ekyo nkimanyi siri bulungi kyova emboozi zino sizeetabaamu nnyo.
Tobyeyingizaamu. Naye kambikuyingizeemuuko kayala.
Katono
olwaleero Liverpool bwakuba Southampton.
Olwaleero?
Liverpool bwakuba Southampton. Agenda kubaasinza Arsenal point 16 ng'ate enkya Arsenal egenda ku Man U.
Bwekiri?
Arsenal oyinza bagambayo ki? Ne botabingiramu nnyo just ka advice over anything.
Arsenal nze kyenyinza bagamba bagende wa Katonda bamwetondere. Balabika banyiza Katonda because olaba season ya 2015 ya
Leicester ne Tottenham.
Kiriya tiimu enene zonna zaali nfunga. Arsenal yeriwo ennyo okutwala ekikopo. Netakitwala. Naye season eno senga zonna zabadde nfu. Tiimu enene.
Nottingham yali kitutte.
Arsenal.
Walayi ogera bubi ogera nyiza abawuliriza ba Radio City.
Bebamanyi.
Xtreme Sport Radio City 97 FM, back with some of your highs and lows. I should say you should keep sending those through. We shall run through those and of course speak any of your questions you have for us as the show goes along. Abbas Lutaya listening to us all the way from the UAE, representing Kawempe Mbogo. Okay. Our former neighbors to the north, doing some diplomatic anyway, involving UAE, but yeah, that's a topic for another day. Not sporting quite, actually. He says, thanks for the show. Hi is Liverpool's win against PSG and a wonderful goalkeeping from Alison Baker. You say, congrats, Ramadan Mubarak to all your fellow Muslims. Yeah, have you ever fasted?
No.
Not to do with religion? Or
No.
Just, what
Just
about no circumstances that even force you to fast?
None have so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your pocket must be really happy. Edwin Stanley, your high is the guys in the studio. It's a PSG 0, Liverpool 1, Lakers 8 in a row. Low, every fan dissecting Salah after having to tactically adapt to the most on-form team in Europe. Says other points. Luka Doncic, you say, oh my God, we'll get to basketball in a bit. James Harden, 50 points you're pointing out, and Konate a foul. You're still amused by someone being in love with the voice. Okay, but let's first talk about some Premier League before all those other things we can get. By the way, like I said, today's Women's Day. There is a tournament going on with the cricket. It's a 4-nation tournament in there. Hong Kong are in it, Namibia, I believe, and Nepal. So you can go catch. I think Uganda plays Hong Kong first. That game started in the morning. It's 8 a.m.
Yeah, and there are T20 ranking points.
Yeah.
These are not just friendly games, so they affect the rankings of the teams you mentioned above. So yeah, the important tournament, and also it's usually good to see us attracting these
Quality of
the quality of opposition.
we don't want to be calling Tanzania and Rwanda every time.
No. It's always good to see that these teams want to come to Uganda and play. It also again raises the questions of the facilities. Of course, now it looks like the only place we can play cricket regularly is Entebbe. I know the under-19 have been playing in Lugogo, and also we have a franchise. We hinted on this.
The franchise tournament coming up.
Yeah. I believe we'll be able to use Lugogo for that as well. So it's good. I know there are some players from abroad are going to be a part of that franchise tournament. I believe there are some players coming in from India, from Pakistan. So it's good to see Ugandan cricket attract people from out there to come here and get a taste of what we have to offer.
Yeah, of course, we keep asking questions about facilities. I don't know what happened to the plan to turn Chambogo into the new home of cricket, but that's also stalled. But I know they signed deals. They talked about big money, but we are here still waiting for direction on that. So that's where we are at the moment. Uganda Premier League, though, by the day we keep getting better facilities. If you've seen what's happening, the likes of Kavumba and the like.
A new entrant hit the scene in the week. Kamwenge.
Yeah.
People have stepped up on this pitches thing, and I love it. Not only is the government starting to do its part, but also individuals getting involved. Individuals, groups, local authorities are getting in on the game in terms of upgrading facilities for teams to be able to play safe and sensible football.
That is the so-called Rwamwanja Stadium, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
In Kamwenge. Talking about facilities before we get proper into football, there was we got to know about Suma doing that the second phase, which got me wondering why were UPDF put in charge of the first phase in the first place. Done already by now.
I think enlightenment and exposure are a real thing.
Yeah.
At the beginning, the powers that be had this UPDF is our baby, UPDF construction arm, let's give them a shot and whatever. But also, it was in the aftermath of COVID. We were coming out of COVID. I don't think resources were readily available. So the easiest contractor to put in charge was the one that is in-house. So that happens. UPDF ends up doing better than we expected. I think that should be said.
By now,
while they took so long, but they did much better work than most people expected of them. Now their capacity has a ceiling.
Yeah.
They hit that ceiling eventually. But also, whatever was said about Suma before they got here, the powers that be here had no way of knowing, even though they had seen what Suma had done in the region. You don't know Suma until Suma comes to your house.
Okay.
And they've come here. What they have done with Chitara in less than 8 months has showed the powers that be how much more they can do in every other place if they are given those projects, and especially in terms of us beating deadlines, having seen the disaster that was Chan, Kenya, and
even Uganda.
Uganda, even though we were better off than
everyone
than
else,
Kenya,
who were just
but we were also behind schedule. So I think what Suma has done in Hoima has, one, encouraged everybody else to kick up, but secondly, and most importantly, has opened the eyes of the powers that be, that look, here we have a contractor that excels at what they do, and it's in our best interests to give them these upgrades on Nambole, which are also going to include building another 3,000-seater arena at Nambole. That encourages the powers that be to spend on the right people.
Yeah.
And for me, I think in a year or so from now, Suma may have finished all those projects,
including the basketball.
Yeah, and people don't realize how crazy it's gone. We've gone from no single indoor facility in the country to the possibility of 5 indoor facilities within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
One is already under construction. You've seen the foundation and the base for the one at Hoima is already visible. The guys in Lira, of course, have broken ground and they have started construction, but they haven't started on the basketball side yet. But there will be a basketball arena as well. It's not just basketball, it's a multi-purpose arena. Volleyball.
I think there'll be more. There'll be one outside and one indoor. I guess that's what I sort of read. Yeah.
Maybe courts in the parking,
courts,
but
courts,
we are talking about the indoor
practice,
facilities, yes. Then there will be the one at Nambole, which they are going to start on when they start the renovations.
30 years in the waiting.
Yeah, 30 years in the waiting, because Nambole at the beginning should have had
all those things. Yeah.
They should have. It was basically supposed to be an Olympic hill with all those things, but that didn't happen. Then it will eventually happen. I'm glad for it. But then the final act, the two arenas that will be at Lugogo, the 15,000 seater and the 3,000 seater. So in the next 2 years, maybe by end 2027, we might be looking at indoor capacity in the country of up to 30,000.
And that's just amazing.
Yeah.
So let's get to those who will be kicking a ball in some of those. KCCS won't be covered. Their work has been slow. I know we've had the criticisms there, but we didn't. Nobody really was putting a time. It's a club. They're doing their thing. You, the fans, can do the complaining. But the stadium can't even be the thing you all worry about right about now. Seeing the results on the pitch are dire.
Last 5 games, 2 draws, 3 losses. They have stunk the bed. You look at that team and you can't see where the solution is going to come from, because it's not like they have an injury crisis. Yeah. It's not like they have lost players to something, or it's just they've just dumped down. They've just dumped out. The team can't create chances. The team can't put away the few that come to them by mistake or something. Can't defend, out of sorts. It's like something is happening in the locker room.
There's no worry about maybe.
Well, they
things
are not
working
going to get relegated for sure. But they're out of the title challenge right now. Even though they have a game in hand on Vipers, they are behind Vipers by 21 points. This is a Vipers that was maybe 7-8 game weeks right at par with them or behind them.
Before we went for the break, we were talking about us having a potential of a title race.
And now there's almost no title race, because even NEC, who have faltered, those 2 draws in the last 3 games, one to Police and yesterday to Wakiso Giants. Lesser teams that they should put away. Now, you draw those 2 games, Vipers win both their games, including beating Police away yesterday, and now they have a 5-point lead. And we know from history that when Vipers have gone 5 points up, you're not catching them, especially playing at the pace they are playing.
Yeah, you have faith in Abdallah Mubiru? This season aside, let's say if you next season is going to start, you have a bit of a runway to maybe sign some players, improve the squad. Would you still put him into?
I do, because there are no options outside of him on the scene in the country. You have very limited options outside of him.
Time to go back to Old Vomit.
Old Vomit is the best coach. He's the best coach in the country, but it appears he's not interested in coaching. Okay. He's had some challenges, most of which have stayed private. But it's not like it appears he's not interested in coaching. But also, for him to coach your team, a few things have to change. And I don't know if the new leadership is willing to give him as much rope as he had.
Well, we had position this week, so all the money will be there for KCA to spend. They're willing to support. We always hear it from every new.
I wish that money had been there before Alan Okello went to Vipers.
What about the money that they've spent?
Biggest loss.
The money they've been recouping from all the transfers.
Yeah, but it's not helping. One player like Alan Okello leaving you and going to the opposition, the direct opposition, because you couldn't pay a certain sign-on fee, is massive. And then the season after you lose Alan Okello, you lose Shaban Mohammed. KCC has lost their 2 best players of the last 5 years in free agency. Now, you could say that both of them went for much greener pastures, but if you want to compete, you have to be able to keep that type of players. Shaban literally carried KCC last season. In his absence, you can tell the absence of goals.
You can lose those players, like you say, greener pastures and all. But losing a player of that quality to Vipers is
you're basically serving the opposition. It's the thing that me and you have always talked about UCU basketball. Every year you lose your best players to your opposition. So basically, you are an academy for your opposition. Every year, you're grooming for them, having a distant MVP season.
Yeah.
Nobody can even if he stopped playing now for the rest of the season, he would still be MVP.
True. So, for them, how have things been going? Well, you are aided, have that win against UPDF yesterday. You also had Wakiso Giants drawing with next. So next curtains, really. It's two results. Very damaging.
Four
very
dropped
damaging.
points that would have them tied. That would still have them tied with Vipers at 45 if they had closed. But in this title race, especially with Vipers, you lose an inch, you're gone. And they have lost inches to two teams they shouldn't have.
Yeah. The form team after Vipers right now should be Bull. They've climbed up to third place in the table. Beat Kitara yesterday. No, I think it was Thursday. It was Thursday. Then you had Express pretending to be a form team, also getting tonked. That is 3 losses in the last 5. Police, of course, we told you about that home loss to Vipers. Yunus Sentamu scoring the all-important goal to pretty much leave them 5 points clear at the top of the table and looking very good for another league title with not too many games, not too little games by the left to go. We still have a chance for an upset, but Neck themselves looking like their own biggest enemy. I want to take a very short break. When we return, some more highs and lows, plus get into sub-rugby and healthy dose of basketball. Timuvao. Xtreme Sport here, just 97 FM, back with more of your sport. Those who, of course, have some highs and lows, you can just keep sending them through. Tweet us at 97FM Radio City. So, moving on. Sport happening today. Some rugby. Oh yeah, can we still can we say a short prayer for Heathens fans, or how would you console a Heathens fan, Albert, right about now, who is going through so much hurt?
Hey, first of all, I'm not interested in helping them.
I know yeah, good.
Because they talked a big game to begin the season.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about how excuse me, Baroga.
Have you seen the paragraph Desire has been posting on
Threads?
Yeah.
Yesterday someone called him Mr. Threads. there's a little nuisance on Twitter called Abasa Dande. Just giving everyone nightmares. Not that they haven't had some scratch marks of their own, the Pirates, but they're in a much more comfortable position than the Heathens. We know that this league, if you are one of the big 3, big 4, you lose 3 games at any point of the season, you might be out of the final. And that is where Heathens currently find themselves. That brings into conversation the Ginger teams. It brings into conversation the Rhinos, who have got one over their brothers, the Cobs. So it's very interesting at the top.
All right, because the big one, he will be at what am I calling it? Kings Park. We'll find the top of the table.
Most fun rugby venue in East Africa.
I think I like Swampuno more.
I don't think it's for fun. I think it's for dietary purposes.
All right, some basketball, but why don't you have a league kicking off in time?
Yeah, from what I've been told, a number of challenges, venues, extended registration deadlines, a new committee and a new administrative arrangement for the league, which is now in the hands of the clubs. So they were giving room for all those factors to fall in place. So they pushed it for an extra week from the 14th of March to the 21st of March. That is when the league will begin. And as everyone would have loved to, the opening fixtures will be JT Lady Jaguars versus JKL Lady Dolphins. And in the men, Namuongo Blazers versus City Oilers. I cannot wait. Trish T.
Isn't that a bit too early? You know, when those teams have not yet maybe...
let's see what we have signed up for.
Maybe we should have a 4-game...
opening day?
No, like not just for opening day, but not play twice.
Give them 3-4 games to warm up.
Not play each other in the season, because I feel like just having the two...
that's what you are saying. I don't...
Because we have a few teams in the league, first of all. I know there are commitments, international stuff.
12. 12 men, 12-10.
If I'm watching my favorite team and all I get is 22 games in a season and I don't go for the playoffs, I would feel cheated.
We generally don't play a lot of basketball. Part of it explains why when our players travel from here to play college or something like that, always end up with ACL tears, because their bodies are not accustomed to that amount of load. In terms of, say, if you go to college, you have gym every morning, you have 2 training sessions a day, you have 2 lifting sessions a day, then you have 2-3 games in every week, scrimmages, all that. There's everyday activity.
And your personal workouts.
Yes, which they are not used to here. So eventually the body gives way. For a lot of people, it's happened. Abi Priscilla has tore her ACL, Zama tore her ACL twice, Sami Kalwanyi tore his ACL. I could go on. Some have recovered from them, some have not been able to recover and be the same athletes over time. But that's the challenge. So I agree with you, we don't play enough games, but that's a creation of the lack of consistently available venues of good quality. So as opposed to having more weeks to travel to UCU or to Kansanga or wherever, or now to Abuja Park, which are the venues that are usually readily available. The Lugogo and YMCA that we fight for with different stakeholders makes it very difficult for you to have more games between teams.
Well, I didn't hear Nambole in those...
Currently, Nambole is not in the conversation.
No, Nambole, sorry, Nachivugo.
No, basketball is played at night. Nobody is going to go there and get beaten up by its face. Because the basketball crowd, how many of them have cars to be able to drive there and get straight inside Nachivugo? People may not admit this, but it is the truth. Most of the, say, 90% of the basketball crowd don't have cars.
I don't think it's just cars. The reason
I said cars is if you have a car and you're driving into Nachivugo, you're driving straight into the basement parking of the stadium. So you survive crime. That crime that is in those evening hours and the late hours that guys leave games.
There is a mall I won't mention, which I no longer park at because I've not even seen that when you go, say, to pick your car at 3 a.m. and you've been juiced, guys just appear in the basement parking. And for me, Nachivubo is also not just about that solution. I drive, I have a car. What you mentioned above is not enough for me to go for any activity in that area at night.
The reason I said cars is because I have driven into that Nachivubo parking twice now. There's sufficient security inside.
All right, then.
As soon as you enter the gate, the security is sufficient because they close that gate consistently.
And
anybody who is inside and does anything there can get trapped.
Okay. So
there's cameras, there's a lot of lighting, there's a lot of security. But the problem is outside that gate, you are not safe. And because of that, we just can't have basketball games there.
All right, then.
All right. So, back from... you have any last thoughts from our qualification campaigns, both the men and the women?
The thoughts are... about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when we started doing this thing, we promised ourselves that in 7 to 10 years would be a consistent fixture in African Continental Championships and would be there competing, not participating. I am happy to say that for the men, we have been to every Afrobasket since we first attempted. We have grown at every Afrobasket. The first Afrobasket in 2015, we finished 15th out of 16. We beat Zimbabwe for the last place. In 2017, we finished 10th out of 16. In 2017, Senegal and Tunisia, they co-hosted. In 2021, when it was now changed to 4 years, we finished 6th out of 16, even though you remember the things that happened on our way there.
Yeah.
We had no practice, we were in the middle of COVID, we were only given funds 10 days to the tournament. We got to Kigali, they quarantined us for 7 days. We got out of quarantine 2 days before tip-off with 0 training. Got tonked by Senegal by 38 on opening day. Next day, 2 days later, we beat Cameroon. We lose to South Sudan by 1 point. We beat Nigeria in the quarterfinal qualifier. End up in a quarterfinal clash with Cape Verde that was decided by 4 or 5 points. We could have ended up on a podium in a tournament we did not practice for. We always feel like internally that team was cheated of glory. We had a really good team that could have gone all the way to a semi-final, maybe shock someone, but we couldn't get that opportunity because we were sabotaged here. The women, 2015 qualified for the first Afrobasket. Went there, finished 9 out of 12. 2017, we lose to Kenya in a semi-final and failed to qualify in Cairo. 2019, we lose to the same Kenya in the qualifiers here in Kampala. 2021, our women couldn't participate in the qualifier because we had to make a choice between either the men or the women. The men were already midway their campaign. The women couldn't play because we just didn't have enough funds to run 2 campaigns. Excuse me. Having said that, we rebounded. We came out of that. We played the qualifier in 2023, which was hosted in Kampala. We lost to Egypt in the final, but we were given a wild card because we come from the most competitive zone on the continent. So wild cards have always been given to our zone because the second best is always as good as anybody on the continent. That's how competitive our zone is. We went to Kigali for Afrobasket. You know what happened there. We finished 7th out of 12, but the 7, we lost a very close quarterfinal against Rwanda because our best player, Jen Asinde, got injured when we were leading 29-17. We lost the game. That's how basketball goes. One guy goes down and they can affect the outcome of the game. But because of that, we've been able to bank on that growth and improve. We improved to the point that this time Egypt hosted, we went to Cairo and smacked them in the final.
Yeah.
Uganda led from wire to wire in that quarterfinal, in that final against Egypt. The Ugandan teams don't typically win in the Arab North. Basketball has done it back to back now. We beat Morocco in a decider in Morocco. We beat Morocco in Cairo, in Alexandria in 2020. Now our girls have gone and beaten Egypt in front of their home crowd and beat them convincingly, because on the first game we lost by I think 2.
Yeah, it was a very close game.
Very close game. I think 61-63 or something
killed
like
us
that.
in the final.
Missed free throws even. We could still have won the game. But we lost a close group game, got them in the final and smacked them out of the building. So for me, our growth as basketball is very, very tangible, very visible. We have given physical, actual accountability for the resources that we have been given. We have always said, with the support of resources and with the chance to play at home, given a facility that can bring the continent to Uganda. Because every time we play on the continent, everyone who has played in Uganda wants to come back and play in Uganda. But we've not had the opportunity because we did not have a facility that can host international games. Now, those facilities are starting to come. Even before Lugogo is completed, if that 3,000-seater at Nambole is completed quickly, we will be able to take zonal championships. Will return to Kampala. Now we could only host under 18 in a dilapidated Lugogo, where you have sanitary facilities that are terrible. The roof looks like it could come down on you. The dressing rooms, everything is a mess. But we still host and make a mess. You saw what that final was like between Uganda and Rwanda under 18. It's crazy. People outside.
I think that's one of the best tournaments we've held in the last 5 years.
Yeah, those tournaments are all of them. They're always nice because your team is performing. They are at home. Ugandans love a good watch, but also when their team is performing, it makes it that much better. But also when you have youth, kids, you have. Say Phil's son is playing in the tournament. Phil is going to come with his friends, his relatives. Phil's wife's relatives are going to come to see their kid. Now one kid on the court has brought 30 people. You have 12 kids of Uganda boys, 12 kids of Uganda girls. They are going to bring people, even for those who don't understand the game, just purely for sentimental reasons. So for me, as soon as I am excited for what we have been able to do in terms of the results and where we have gone on the continent, that we are one of the 5 nations that have both their men and women at Afrobasket, 6 actually, that have both their men and women at Afrobasket. For context, there are only 12 countries, women at Afrobasket. There are only 16 countries, men at Afrobasket. That's maybe 25% of the continent.
Out of men, 54,
yes,
53.
Yes, 25% in men, 20% in women of the continent. There's a sport where they take 32 and sometimes we don't go 24. Just in Gamba. Now, all I'm saying is we have proved over time that we are capable of being very competitive on the continent in this sport. A little more resourcing, a little more push on the facilities, and I love where government. I have to give it to Honorable Gwang. There has never been any sports minister that has done this much infrastructure-wise. Now he could be lucky.
And I'm supposed to be talking about the top minister, starting Wagulueli.
What was State House Gwajemu? Madam Kata.
No, it's because she's not the face of sport. She's not that. She's more in education than sport. But kudos to her as well. She's the boss. For me, I'm talking about the one I see, the foot soldier. Gwang is the foot soldier. And he made these promises. I had a conversation with him in the Kigali Arena in 2021 during Afrobasket. And he told us, he said, we are going to compete, but we are also going to build these facilities for you. Just give us a few years. And I thought he was bluffing like his predecessor who put over a lot of things. But he made a promise and he has come through. He has come through big time. So kudos to Honorable Gwanga and your boss, the First Lady, and their boss, the President. For me, as a sports fan, as a basketball fan, as a volleyball fan, as an indoor.
How about as a cricket fan?
As a cricket fan, that's a different conversation. I will be annoyed on that end.
We need some people to lobby for us.
But what I can tell you is, Pius, I can promise you, both our teams, men and women, Gazelles and Silverbacks, strap up if you're a basketball fan, strap up if you're a fan of Uganda national teams, because come July 25th to 3rd August, the Gazelles will be competing in Ivory Coast. I can guarantee you, barring a major catastrophe, we will be in the top 6 of that competition. Maybe even on the podium.
We hope you...
In the men, I can also tell you, we are going to compete.
I
just hope you're as good as Ogwang at keeping your promises. You've promised a top 6 for the girls, and
every time I have promised those in basketball, we have come through.
We'll be here.
There are some broken hearts out there who have also gotten promises. Not
from Albert. You would get
wouldn't you?
All right. So, by the way, Phil, you should also take those blessings from Albert or Phil Jr. He might be bouncing a ball for Uganda.
I would love to say, those who don't know, I'm already covered. Thank you, Pius.
Okay, I'm saying yes. Maxi Boggs, Ugandan edition. Albert, before we leave the basketball, NBA.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things to talk about. First of all, are you buying the Golden State, whatever Golden State is selling? Are you buying?
I am, because they got a different dimension. In terms of now you can't cheat off Draymond Green alone. You can't cheat off Draymond Green because he has got another smart guy to play with who posts up every guard and wing that guards him, Jimmy Butler.
And who historically plays a lot better in the playoffs.
And he has rested a lot. Those suspensions and whatever in Miami was just creating a monster for Golden State Warriors. So he's been chilling. The first half of the season, he was resting, really. He got his body back. He gives Steph a different dimension of a scorer that they didn't have. In Clay, they had a catch and shoot guy who's lost his legs a bit. In Andrew Wiggins, they had a slasher driver who once in a while makes a three. But the Warriors, since David Lee and Andrew Bogut and Festus Ezeli, have not had a guy they could go to in the post that will score on the low block. This is a 6'7" guard who can score on the low block. That's what Jimmy Butler gives.
And then he pulls fouls.
He puts teams in foul trouble. He attracts double teams, especially late in games, and he creates enough havoc to be able to distract you off Steph a little bit. That three Steph hit in the corner against, I think it was against Brooklyn or someone. They forgot him in the corner. There was that near half court. But there's the one he hit in the corner where he inbounded the ball because of what Butler had been doing to them. They double-teamed Butler and Draymond Green and forgot that the guy who had inbounded the ball is Steph Curry. And he waited in the corner, got the ball right back and knocked down a three to kill the game. And that, for me, is the difference. Well, Jimmy Butler has given them a different
playoff team, but a finals team, you think?
They have a ceiling.
A conference final?
It just depends on where they end up and what their matchup is.
What are the bad matchups for them in the West?
The bad matchup for them is Denver, because they have no one that can guard Jokic. And Jokic creates so much havoc. The bad matchup is Lakers, because they don't have anyone that... Jimmy Butler will guard LeBron. Draymond will guard LeBron. Jimmy Butler will guard Doncic. But they will get destroyed elsewhere.
Austin Reeves.
And that, for me, is Austin Reeves and DFS. DFS knocks down a lot of corner threes.
I've seen him shooting now mid-ranges, and I'm thinking I didn't know that about him.
That's the DFS that played with Luka at Mavericks. Because of the attention that Luka was taking, and Jalen Brunson, DFS was wreaking havoc in those corners. And he's going to still do that because he's a 6'8" shooter who, if you leave open, cash.
And OKC, I'm thinking also.
Yeah. Now, OKC's problem for me, if OKC land in Denver or LA in the semi-final, problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're buying the Lakers hype for real?
It's real. You have two geniuses on court together who both happen to be 6'8", 6'9", 230 pounds. And know what to do at the end of games.
And enjoy playing with each other.
Yes, enjoy playing with each other. Enjoy taking turns. But they can also beat you without actually looking like they are taking turns. Because now you have to double one of them. Whichever one you double, the other is genius enough to beat the one-on-one matchup. And should you make the mistake of doubling both, you open up shooters. So that Lakers team is dangerous.
Okay. We could have been saying that about the Mavs. But health has... I saw them warming 7 players today.
Life has a way of playing unfunny jokes. That team, you thought that Kyrie and AD would give people problems as soon as AD recovers from his injury, because he's going to recover from that injury before the season ends. But they have no choice but shut it down now, because you've lost Kyrie, you have an injured Gafford coming back, you have an Anthony Davis coming back from injury. What are you doing that for? Because
yes, another guy today
they have breathing room
put out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they have breathing room between them and the Suns, even though both of them lost this morning. Dallas lost to Memphis and the Suns lost to Denver. So they have breathing room of about 3-4 games between them and Phoenix in that last play-in slot, 10 and 11. But you know that 2 wins here and there and the Suns catch up, because you don't see where the wins are going to come from for Dallas.
If there's one team
they barely have a squad.
Yeah, I think they're going to forfeit some games as it stands.
They can't forfeit. They will play 6 or 7. They'll call up G League players. They will call up...
No, but you see, they cannot do 10-day contracts anymore. I think
they can't do 10-day contracts anymore. They can only call up their G League affiliate players on Exhibit 10s. And but that means they can only call so many. They can't forfeit a game. Even if there are 6 or 7, they will play.
we'll wait and see how that will
The
pan out.
ramifications of forfeiting are
Too much for you to want to deal with.
But they can also get disability. There are some disability clauses to allow them to have an addition of 2 or 3 players.
Yeah, crazy. A space of 1 month
from the Texas Legends.
These guys were in the final, in the conference finals. In the East, though, I was going to say before we get to the East. I don't know who you'd have as a contender for MVP. I think that's all happening in the West. It's now down to Jokic and maybe SGA.
It's Jokic and SGA. Yes, Tatum is competitive, but he's a distant third. Giannis Antetokounmpo is also in that conversation. Maybe a distant
just
fourth.
not hit the heights.
He's not hit that cliff this season, but. It's a 2-man race. It's between Jokic and Shea for sure.
And why don't I want to give it to SGA because of the way he plays?
You are not alone. This whole free throw baiting, the handoff that he gets foul calls for, yet it's called as an offensive foul for everybody else. It's an agenda. NBA is an agenda.
I mean, I look at Brunson do the same thing.
Yeah, the agenda is that SGA should be MVP this season because they are looking for someone to make a change of Jokic. Because Jokic has been in that mode in the last 4-5 years that LeBron was in between
automatic, it's just automatic.
2010 and 2018, where every year you could make a case that LeBron was MVP. Now, people just got LeBron fatigue and started giving the MVPs to other people. Of course, bar the year Kevin Durant went crazy and the 2 years Steph went crazy.
But
all the other years, you could make a case for LeBron to be MVP. Heck, you could make a case for LeBron to be MVP
now,
this year.
Yeah. He has better numbers than 10 years ago.
The man is averaging 28, 8, and 8. At his age, it does not make sense. That's why we say all these other things that
the PEDs.
But it says a lot about a guy to be 40, pushing 41, and still have numbers that should be in the MVP conversation. The only reason he's not in the MVP conversation is LeBron fatigue.
Yeah, but he's also had a lot of things to say about how are we going to include ourselves in how we cover the league. I don't think we're as toxic as NBA media, but
some of it he is responsible for. He was the leader of this whole narrative business. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not
7,
4, not 5. He started some of those things. He attracted some of that attention.
Yeah, but you surely can't be holding him to the stem.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you are LeBron. You create such a huge monster that it can't be devoid of attention. Now, that attention may be ill attention, it may be good attention, and you could decide to be like Kevin Durant and say, F off all of you. I don't care, I don't give a damn. Get on Twitter and clap back and whatever. LeBron is not that type of guy. He finds other ways to.
But he has made his point quite well.
Made his point. He made his point to individuals. You saw the Stan conversation with Stephen A. He's made his point with a few others in that barbershop show and whatever. But if you are at the head of the snake, people are always going to come at you. It's inevitable. LeBron bashing LeBron brings.
Xtreme Sport right here, this is 97 FM. Back with more of your sport. Like I said, if you have any highs and lows, this is your last chance to throw us some if you want to. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can, of course, with the right answers for you over there. Hey, Champions League, we had that unwanted this is what, a round of 16 in its new iteration. So here we go. We did talk about PSG beating Liverpool. There was that Madrid derby, Madrid and Atletico. Unfortunately for Baco, Madrid pulled through on that one at home. You could argue the gap might not be too worrying for Atletico.
1-0 deficit, 2-1, but a 1-goal deficit. I think it's one of the few ties still in the balance.
That look interesting.
Yeah, and Alvarez with that amazing goal, man. He's having a crazy season. is now on 22 goals in all competitions and 7 in the European Champions League. And that's at a club that doesn't really give you very many scoring opportunities. So I think that one is still in the balance. I'm not sure because the winner between Real and Atletico plays Arsenal in the next round. And I'm quite positive Arsenal fans will be hoping that Atletico can overturn this. This was the first time these clubs have played this season and Real won. So Atletico have it in them. And like we've seen, even last weekend in Spain, Real don't travel very well.
Yeah.
You look at their away record this season in Spain, and they have a terrible away record. So this is, I think it's one of the ties that are still in the balance, Pius.
Unfortunately for... what's their name again? Atletico Madrid. The games just keep coming thick and fast. They have a game tomorrow, I believe. They take on Getafe. But after they play Madrid in midweek, they'll have Barcelona next weekend. So a pivotal weekend, a pivotal week, next few days, you could say, for Atletico in their quest to see how this tournament, this season does end for them. You also have... in the games, I think today, Barcelona themselves taking on Osasuna, while Real Madrid will prepare for that second leg, of course, with a game against Rayo Vallecano. But you had something to say?
No.
All right. Continuing on with that Champions League, Barcelona themselves, you talked about interesting ties. Theirs not interesting, is it? They went away and won. You trusting them to... they did that with 10 men, of course.
Yeah, one with... a man down quite early in the tie.
Kubasa, I believe. Yeah.
Anticipation for this one was on another level because we had previously in the Champions League seen Benfica and Barca give us a 9-goal thriller. A game in which Barcelona were really beaten, but somehow they came back. I think they were 4-2 down with I don't know how many minutes to go, and they ended up winning that one 5-4. And this tie should also be done. I don't think Benfica have what it takes to go away and overturn this in Spain. Rafinha himself on fire, 9 goals in 9 Champions League games now.
That is the second top scorer right now. He's the same goals with Harry Kane, I believe, in Champions League.
Yeah,
they have a near equal amount of penalties.
For Harry Kane, I don't know what to. There is, despite all these numbers we keep throwing around, the same goals with Harry Kane in the Champions League. I believe in the league he has same number of goals as games. That's about 22 or something. But the fans apparently are not very unhappy at the Allianz Arena about Harry Kane and these goal-scoring exploits, because in the league, how many have they played in the Bundesliga?
I'm not have that. No.
The fans have started doing the math, and without penalties, there are about 12 games in which he wouldn't have goals, and they are used to strikers who go with more goals than games, basically at least a goal per game. So when you look at Harry Kane's numbers and you deduct the penalties, the numbers wouldn't be as glorious as, say, the Rafinha numbers and the numbers we just talked about of Alvarez. So there's that. The goals are there, but the fans in Germany, they are not very happy.
No, we are 24 games in the...
And I think he has...
25th weekend.
There are 24 games. I think he has 24 as well. But about...
21 goals.
21, but about 9 penalties of those 21 in 24. So if you did 24 games and you took off 9 penalties, you're going to find about
13 or 14 thereabouts.
Which is for Bayern, and the amount of money they spent and the players that were there before, they feel like he's not really turning up.
Well, so Guirassy is still the top scorer there of Dortmund. Of course, you're wondering where they are as far as the tournament, so they still have Lille to grapple with. That will be, of course, next to that first leg ending 1-1. Not managing to get on the score sheet. Karim Adeyemi, I believe, Zanu managed to bag Dortmund's goal. we'll continue the rest of the games in Serie A if you're interested in what's going on. Of course, no Champions League representation.
There is Inter. Yeah.
After being whittled down to just one club.
And it has affected them a lot with their coefficiency. That's something we've explained before that we won't go to, but it's very unlikely. Unlike last year, the fifth team in Italy qualified for the Champions League. Next year, it's unlikely that they will. But, of course, Inter Milan soldier on in the European Champions League. They went away to Feyenoord and they won that 2-0. But domestically, I believe Inter have a relatively easy one.
Yeah,
but
Monza,
they have just... in the Serie A, I think they are conniving to bring Juventus back. Inter Milan, who are top, have only won 2 of their last 5. Napoli, who are second, have not won any of their last 5 Serie A games. Atalanta, who are third, have also only won 2 of their last 5. So if you get the top 3, which would be 15 games, there are only 4 wins in 15 games. And while they are doing that, Juventus have won 5 in a row. That Juventus are now, I think, only 6 points behind the leaders. And they take on Atalanta, who are immediately above them, while Napoli, who are second, take on Fiorentina. So all of a sudden, Juventus are getting back into the picture.
You're wondering where AC Milan are. Nowhere, like 9th place. We're ahead of Juventus comfortably at some point in the season, already 11 points behind. That's how quickly the reverse is happening there for AC Milan. They have a very passionate Portuguese coach there on their touchline, but the one getting all the headlines feel has got to be the one in in France, where, my God, a 9-month ban. Have you ever heard of this? For just being angry at a ref, not even making contact with him.
The ban is 9 months is ridiculous for a manager. I don't think I've had anything like that.
Sounds like a certain Ugandan lawyer.
Don't go there.
Quite an overreaction.
but it's like you say, he didn't make contact. He attempted to headbutt.
Yeah. He was actually protesting a VAR. They were going to review where he could have considered the penalty. VAR reviewed and didn't even give. So he was protesting that they were going to review it VAR, and he actually.
Yeah, he attempted to headbutt an official, and he's now got 9 months. He's not allowed to be on the touchline. He's not allowed to be in the dressing room. Of course, it puts his job into jeopardy.
Yeah, I've had Leona trying to cut him loose before the end of the season because, I mean, what's the point of a guy who can't do his job? The only place he can actually coach is in the Europa League. And in midweek, of course, they won a game. The players ran to him after they scored the second goal in the game and hugged him. And when they went back to kick a ball, cameras turned to the man and the man is shedding tears on this. I feel sorry for him. Mr. Fonseca is at the other side, but, you know, interesting things happening. But we'll skip the rest of Europe and land in England, where there were also some Champions League pretenders. We've talked about Liverpool first, but Phil, Aston Villa's win against Bruges, you can call them Brugge, away from home. Yeah?
I watched that game. There is a lot of Champions League taking place at the same time these days, and that's the game I prefer to watch. It was, I think Brugge were all over Villa. Villa scored early, 3rd minute. Brugge equalized, and Brugge were in control of that tie, albeit similar to PSG, albeit without converting. At the end of the day, an own goal and a late Asensio penalty, in my opinion, killed that tie. This was, I think, like 1-1 going to the last few minutes. And those two things above, the own goal was beautiful. I love it when a defender stretches out, makes contact with the ball, and the keeper doesn't even bother moving.
Hold on. There was a save, I think, in that game. off the touchline by Mings.
Yeah, but I've watched that thing over and over again.
It's one of the best saves you'll ever see.
I'm yet to see the contact between the ball and this.
Oh, there's an angle where you can see it from behind the ball, where you can see the trajectory of the ball, and then they change it. Because even the only person who asked for a corner was the guy who had the ball. No one else.
So it's wonderful. He had played a role in the Brugge equalizer earlier on in the game. So maybe vindicated at the end of the day. But maybe a word for Asensio. I think he's turning out to possibly be the best January signing this season. Transformed them.
Transformed himself too.
Yeah,
got an opportunity to play.
5 games so far for Villa, 5 goals. Crucially, he took the penalty with Ollie Watkins on the pitch. It shows how much they believe in him. And also, for England, of course, now we start doing the calculations. For England to have 7 clubs in the Champions League next year, we need Aston Villa to win the Champions League and not finish in the top 5. So if you want to see 7 English clubs in the Champions League, you need to support Aston Villa against Brugge next week, but also support Brentford to beat them this weekend, just to create that scenario.
Talking about Aston Villa, they might want to get their receipts for Donny Malen. Seeing as their first signing, I always thought, oh my God, they made such a huge one. He's played 5 games, no goals, no assists. Hasn't quite.
But I think Asensio and Rashford cover up for that.
So Villa themselves, what are they up to this week?
They are Brentford. That is one of my sure wins because I know exactly how that is going to end.
All right. So the Monday game will be Newcastle, West Ham. Would you want to have something small to say about that one?
I don't think I have anything to say about that one. Maybe we'll deal with it on Monday with Esteri and Pius. Esteri and Peter.
Okay. Peace there. Sunday, Tottenham Bournemouth. I don't know what to think about Tottenham and their last few fixtures.
Spurs, just like Man United, they have nothing to play for in the league. All they have to play for is Europa. Now, on Thursday, as people were minding their own business and listening to rock music, Tottenham were getting beat in Europa. They got beat by AZ Alkmaar. And it was another game they dominated as Spurs, but they lacked the cutting edge. They don't have strikers at that club anymore. Son Ming something is not showing up.
Someone should stop that guy from talking because when they had the last 2 wins in a row, and this man says, "Yeah, we are now over the hump. We are now getting something." Yeah, and I'm thinking, bro, why do you even keep saying these things? And this is the 3rd time he's saying it this season.
And the thing for him is he keeps mentioning.
And his team reminds him quickly.
Yes, exactly. Quickly.
And also he keeps talking about how he always wins a trophy in his second season. Now, when we look around, everything is gone. And the Europa that is remaining, they just got beat. It's just that the world has been very busy talking about Arsenal and other
Manchester
PSG. Yes, that is so for him. They play Bournemouth.
But I think he says these things well knowing that the world will continue to forget Tottenham.
Is he a troll, maybe?
And Bournemouth beat them earlier in the season. Many guys have done that to them. I think it's a tricky fixture for them as well. Bournemouth have Evan Nilsson coming back. They have a few guys that are on fire. Clivert doing things that maybe his dad struggled to do at club level. Semenyo always looks like he's, I don't know, one trick away from a goal. Utara Dango also look so. Bournemouth have what it takes to make a bad weekend for Postecoglou, who has to plan to overturn the AZ Alkmaar result.
In quick succession, because of course in that one you're talking about the sides that have to overturn results. Ajax were beaten at home by Frankfurt, one of the shockers there. While Rangers got a good win away at Fenerbahce, who are involved in a Jose Mourinho-sized scandal. I don't know if anybody has followed this one about racism and all.
We talked about that last week.
It just keeps going on again this week. But yeah, that is your Aston Villa. Spurs. But another team that was disgracing itself in Europe this week was Manchester United. We'll get to them after their City rivals. City, they'll kick off against Forest.
Yeah, away to Forest. Only 1 point between these two in the table. I think for City, like Pep Guardiola said, they will continue trying to play for top 4. But you can tell when you watch City, you can see that the transformation has begun. You can see that Manchester City, for them next season, has already begun with the experiments and the experiments in positions, in formations, in personnel that Pep Guardiola is employing game in, game out. He's playing different players in different positions. I think he's preparing for next year. And for Nottingham Forest, they're not the Forest of back in the day, start of the season or first half of the season. And City is not a very good opponent for Nottingham Forest. They always struggle against Manchester City. I know that was a different Forest and a different City, but you have to look at the numbers. From the time Forest got promoted, their aggregate score against Manchester City is 14-1 in City's favor. They have basically beaten them every time they have met them, and I think this game won't be any different.
Another of those games where we get to see the Nike ball. I was wondering what if you didn't read the news and you were watching the game and you're like, that's not the ball we are using in the Premier League this season. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but did it hit you the same way?
No. I knew before. I knew before that they were changing the ball. So it didn't hit me the same way.
I was saying the friend was like, but what year is this? I'm like, yo, look at the graphics. Graphics. But of course, Nike being replaced by Puma next season, in case you are not aware, as the official Premier League ball provider. So games elsewhere, Liverpool are home to Southampton. Should be a record-scoring game, this one?
I don't know. I don't know. It depends on what Liverpool do, what kind of lineup they put out. Of course, we saw them midweek. The people have used the word luck during this show, at least with the phone calls. PSG had 27 shots, and Liverpool had only 1 on target, and they scored from that. I felt like PSG they were all over Liverpool. You look at the important things that matter. For example, passes completed in the game. PSG had 630 completed passes. Liverpool had only 220. That is almost 400 passes less than the opposition. And it was weird seeing Liverpool in that kind of position. They were not in control at all. First half was one-way traffic from PSG. And in my conclusion, at least in regards to the Champions League, PSG were better than 10 of Liverpool's 11 players, apart from Alisson. Quite a game he had. And some of the things you see the keeper this side, Alisson, and the things he's doing, then you look at Donnarumma in the PSG goal. He had one thing to do the entire night, and he didn't do it because Liverpool had only 1 shot on target and they scored from it. But now we move on. Of course, that tie is still in the balance. The PSG-Liverpool tie, I don't think it's necessarily over. But PSG, of course, they play again, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. They've already lost away to Bayern Munich in the Champions League. They lost 2-0 away to Arsenal in the Champions League. And I will tell you, Bayern and Arsenal away are not as tough as a Champions League night at Anfield. But anyway, they're a young club. So we keep expecting a lot from PSG in the European Champions League. And people forget this is not a club with a lot of history. And just to put it in perspective, PSG, I think, as a club, are only 3 years older than the marriage between our wonderful Yoweri Kaguta and Janet Museveni. I think Janet Museveni and Madame Janet and Yoweri Kaguta Museveni got married in 1973. PSG was formed in 1970. So they are really a young club. But to Southampton, though, for Liverpool, it's just now seeing out the league. I think they need 7 wins for them to be crowned champions of England. Southampton is a free hit. They should be able to get this one. They should be able to rotate that squad. And Pius, for me, I don't see there is nothing Southampton can do to avoid defeat against Liverpool, especially with Liverpool getting the opportunity to go 16 points clear before Arsenal go to Old Trafford.
All right. And you forgot to even mention Donnarumma. Buffon, who played for them, was just 8 years younger than the club. You know.
I mean, isn't Alan Shearer older than PSG by like 1 year? They're basically a young club.
Maxwell is the age of PSG.
Maxwell is the age of PSG. Wow.
Yes, there's some interesting stories out there. Anyway, you were talking about what position Liverpool are in. I was wondering what one you were thinking about the Origin. Since they are so dominant, what position would that be? Corkscrew? I don't answer that question. Anyway, more games in the English Premier League. Brighton are home to Fulham.
And by the way, Brighton have never beaten Fulham in the Premier League or top division game ever.
And they're looking Hatzler as
hot and cold.
Hot and cold.
Yeah.
But he's gotten fine, at least in the cup. After last weekend, Crystal Palace take on Ipswich in one of those others. While there's a relegation 6 point, I don't know if you can still call it relegation, given Everton's form. Everton Wolves, one of those today. Tomorrow also has Chelsea, Leicester City. Chelsea beating we saw Cole Palmer in the Kakopo finally.
Yeah, there have been. For some reason, last weekend, Chelsea played the worst team in the Premier League. They played Southampton. Now they play the second worst team. They play Leicester. Midweek, they played Copenhagen in the Conference League. Of course, they beat Copenhagen. But the teams you talk about when you're talking about Chelsea, we mentioned Leicester, we mentioned Southampton, Copenhagen. When they knock out Copenhagen, they will play either Legia Warsaw or Mold. So it shows you how their season is going. But they should dispatch Leicester. But for Leicester, and talking about Van Nistelrooy and relegation, they're running out of games. Okay. When you look at their next fixtures, starting with Chelsea, and these fixtures are in the order I'm mentioning. In the Premier League, they play Chelsea, they play Manchester United, they play Manchester City, they play Newcastle, then play Brighton, then play Liverpool. Chances are high they will be relegated by that time.
All right. For Chelsea, I think we've had their coach say he prefers to play. He has always thought Reece James is a midfielder.
He played him in midfield against Copenhagen. And for Chelsea, it's important because if you have Forest playing Man City, Chelsea can finish the weekend third.
Yeah, they really can. They will be still too far away from Arsenal, who are away to Manchester United. Feel if at Manchester United, who on your favorite night of the week were disgracing themselves in front of your fans.
I don't think I don't think I have a lot to say about Manchester United. The 1-1 that ended away to Sociedad, they dominated the game, and it just got me worrying for the Europa as a league, the Europa League. If Man United are 15th in the Premier League, and I think among the favourites to win the Europa League, it says a lot about that league.
Isn't it maybe that the tournament actually is because you're letting in the lesser of the heavyweights?
No, it's just the expansion of the Champions League and the removal of the demotion, because previously
some quality teams would have entered there.
When you finish third in the Champions League, you would fall to Europa. But now when you're out of the Champions League, you're out, and the Champions League is bigger. So I mean, it has Aston Villa.
They could be killing the Europa as we know.
So it's killing the Europa. But for me, this game is a lot about Arsenal Football Club. And like I said earlier, they were amazing during the week. And before the game, I admitted I didn't think they were going to do that to PSV. Arsenal couldn't create chances against West Ham. They struggled against Nottingham Forest. But from the 7-1, I've now done some research about their opposition. And I realized PSV have already conceded 36 goals in 2025, which is very ridiculous. We've just gotten out of February. This PSV team was 6 points clear in the Dutch league on Christmas. They are now 8 points behind Ajax. They got knocked out of the Dutch Cup recently by Go Ahead Eagles. So, of course, Arsenal is always going to be something totally different. But for Arsenal, credit to them.
But you could say the same thing. They're going to play a team that just got dumped out of the FA Cup.
Yeah, you could say that. And that's why I'm trying to give a preamble before getting to the Manchester United the game. Because Arsenal, credit to them, man. Somehow they scored goals. Like I've said, they have been struggling for that. And especially goals in open play. All their goals, all the 7 goals came from open play. They didn't even get a corner.
And they looked like everyone on the pitch could score at some point.
And this is what we've been talking about. No striker, no what, and stuff like that. But credit to Waneri. It's unbelievable that this season, it's only Kai Havertz and Saka that have scored more goals than Waneri for Arsenal. This kid is 17 years. Same as the scoreline against PSV 1-7 that ended. Now for Manchester United, fans were calling in earlier and they were saying they're going to beat Arsenal 3. They're going to beat Man United 3-0, I think 2-1. I've looked at all Premier League games between Arsenal and Manchester United at Old Trafford during the week. From the time the Premier League, they have never won a game at Old Trafford in the Premier League.
Surely that changes.
Which didn't end 1-0.
Surely this changes this time.
Of course, with Amorim, let us just predict Piers.
All right, few predictions.
Okay, I think Manchester City are going to beat Forest. Liverpool obviously beat Southampton. Chelsea beat Leicester. This weekend looks very clear. And Arsenal win 1-0 at Old Trafford.
Albert, are you respecting these predictions? Zidek.
I have fallen victim to his hoodwinking in the recent past.
You've put money where my words are. This is the right.
We are living in the hands of Jolesh. Comes through the Short of 20 countdown. Mueraba.